Tunnels, first of all, were not built recently. They've been there for many, many years. All of the tunnels were built by the energy I spoke to you about.
Meaning the technology, electromagnetic laser pulsation.
Yes. And it was built by humans, not by ETs. Again, you always bring this up. ETs have nothing to do with it. It was built by humans. Psychopaths, as I call them. It's still being done today. The difference is that today, and years back also, TLS and people like TLS do their best to destroy it. Those tunnels are very extensive. They can go from New York to Portugal to Australia. They're all over. There are tunnels throughout, but there are also hubs. Hubs mean it's like a big city. By the way, they're all connected with trains that work on a magnetic field.
How fast do these trains go?
Fast. Real fast. You could do New York to Europe in 20 minutes.
Have you been on these trains?
Yes.
Is there just out of curiosity, is there any form of like a G-force? Do you have to drink anything to get on the train like you do on a spaceship?
No, you don't have to drink anything, but we were wearing a special outfit, suit.
Okay.
And yeah, it's going pretty fast. There are like hubs, centers like South Africa has one, Australia has one. Certain places in Europe, which I don't want to mention where, but in Europe you have one. One of the biggest ones, believe it or not, is in Antarctica. You could travel by train. If you have the ability, you could travel by levitation. They guard it with technology. It's not like people are sitting there with guns and watching you.
Are there any guards on any entrances?
Very few.
Where are these entrances?
Can't tell you.
Around cities, area?
All over. They never end. You go in and...
How many times have you been in these tunnels? And why?
Not too many. About 10 times.
For what purpose?
It's not my thing. The 2020 operations got me involved in the New York area, and many kids were taken out. Many, many kids. Not only in New York, all over. But again, it's another example. Why did they stop? There's more kids out there. It's one of the more difficult missions I had to take because the things you see there, it stays in your memory forever and you feel disgusted. You see things one should not see. A lot of the kids were taken out. I don't know if you can call them kids anymore. They're more like subhumans. It's like you see, I don't want to say monsters, but they look deformed. Some looked okay, but all of them, you could see they're not well. You see sick children.
Were the majority brought there? Were they born there? Is there cloning down there?
Well, in the old days, they used to kidnap kids and just take them. Today, they still use kidnapping, but not as much as they used to. Today, it's more of cloning. You can take a child and clone them over and over again, and you dispose of the body whenever you're done with it. Most of the kids who were taken out, they're not making it. They cannot. They don't know how to live outside of the tunnels. Most of them, they're in such a bad shape, they perish anyway.
What kind of things, and I know this is a difficult topic, what kind of things have you seen done by these evildoers to these children, if you want to call them that?
I personally did not see anything. What I saw is when we went to take them out, and it's like, it's all booby-trapped. You gotta go with special shoes, special equipment. My job was more to find, I have the ability to find booby traps, let's call them. But still, people still made a mistake and people died.
Are those traps through a certain form of technology?
Yes.
Can you elaborate on what that means exactly?
Again, they use very specific technologies. For example, if you go in the tunnels are usually very wide.
How wide is very wide?
It all depends. If it's a hub, it's like a whole city. Otherwise, it could be 50 to 100 meters wide. It's wide. Enough for a train to go by, for you to walk around it. And let's say one of our people did not listen to the orders and he was touching the wall before this wall was checked, and you could perish. But it's not like an explosion. you just disintegrate to nothing. There's no body left by the time they're done with you.
Is it some form of like laser technology?
Yeah, it's some form of laser combination with magnetic field, and by the time they're done with you, there's no body.
How are you able to detect what's where in terms of the traps?
I can't reveal that, but I have the ability to know where is the danger zone.
Do you have specific tools that you use? Is it a spiritual thing? Is it connected to physical and spiritual?
It's a spiritual tool that I don't want to talk about now.
I understand.
Again, you could find booby traps, you could find lasers, laser guns, you could find nukes. It's a spiritual thing that I can't talk about.
I know we've already touched up on this topic a little bit in the first interview you and I have done together, but I want to ask it again in regards to the tunnels. A lot of people believe that these tunnels are operated by evil extraterrestrial beings, or that there are extraterrestrials down there doing dark and evil things. From your experience, what have you seen? Can you validate that that's true, that that's not true?
Okay, all the tunnels are being, unfortunately, controlled and operated by those evildoer psychopaths. However, in some places, you're going to go in and you're going to see government agencies in this place. They are part of them. So I was trying to tell you, when you have a government, and again, I'm not going to mention names, but you understand it's not your government. Your president is not your president. Somebody's running the show here. And yeah, they can use a certain army from a certain country to control the place. Those soldiers who are there, they don't know what's going on. And they might protect a tunnel under the name of this so-called army. But it's not an army. It's the same people running the show. Now, throughout the world, it's the same people, same army. They're just giving different names to governments.
So over here, by the way, I believe they call them deep underground military bases. They call them DUMBs for short.
Yes, but they're not. For example, in the U.S., are there U.S. soldiers in those tunnels? Yes. Do they know what's going on? No.
So again, back to the whole extraterrestrial thing that's going down there. What can you touch up on that? People are under the impression from very, I would say, like significant sources of truth telling that there are evil extraterrestrial beings that are down there doing dark things.
First of all, there's no such thing as evil ETs. Get it out of your head. I know there's a lot of things in the internet and TV and shows doesn't exist. They're affiliated with people like TLS and they're doing some work. Yes. For example, one of the missions I was in, you remember I told you about Kevin. Kevin is an ET.
Well, last interview, you never said his name. So.
No, okay. Now I can say his name. Today, his name is Kevin.
Explain who Kevin is for anybody who doesn't understand.
Kevin is a former ET. He's still an ET, but today his name is Kevin. His name was changed, obviously. He goes by the name Kevin. He lives here in New York. He's part of TLS, and he was part of the missions last year. Not last year, in 2020, when missions were done.
Understood. So there could be extraterrestrial activity down there, but from your experience, it's been done for positive purposes on the side of TLS.
Yeah, only the side of TLS or other organizations. I'm not saying TLS is the only one, but there are other organizations doing similar things. But again, you always get stuck on the children. The children is not the main purpose of those tunnels. It's a small part of it. Always follow the money. There's a lot of the money involved in there. Gold, silver, and I'm going to tell you something that was never said before. Antarctica is a major hub. If you try to fly today over certain parts of Antarctica, you can't. Ask yourself why. What's the big secret? The hub is the secret. Why is there no fly zone in Antarctica? For what purpose? If there's no people, no population, what's the big secret? That's the hub. It's one of the biggest hubs. Fort Knox. I guarantee you, if you're going to go to Fort Knox today, you open the door and you check for the gold. There's no gold there. They make you believe the gold is there. The gold is not there. It's been hidden in places like tunnels, especially Antarctica. Nobody can get to it. But it's not only gold. You have platinum. You have a lot of important minerals, such as gold, that are being hidden by, you call it governments. I'm calling it the psychopaths, under the same name, under the disguise of the government. You understand? So it could be the Russian government, it could be the American government. It's all BS. This is just a disguise. But again, it's not only children. If you're going to go to Antarctica, you're not going to find any child. There's no children there. Zero. They use them in other places of the world like South Africa. It's a main hub for children, let's say. Australia was, not anymore. Europe is still going on. The US, unfortunately, is still going on. It's less today after the big operation of 2020. But if you ask me if they complete the mission, no. Now those earthquakes we were talking about, those weird earthquakes, you remember?
I want to share an experience about the earthquakes for the viewers so they understand certain things. Back in, and I actually wrote down the dates so I have all the details that I remember. Back in August of 2019, you came right here and you told me about a certain thing that was about to happen in terms of earthquakes around the world. And sometime at the end of August of 2019, beginning of September, it started. But pretty much what you said was you're going to see a lot of earthquakes happening at exactly 10 kilometers over the next few days. And what that is TLS executing certain operations of, for lack of a better term, blowing up certain tunnels, exploding certain tunnels to stop them from doing what they're doing in terms of the side of the psychopaths, the evildoers, whatever you want to call them. Literally a few days after you told me that, I believe it was about 4 days later, there was a period of another 4 days where I looked at all the graphs and I looked at all the math of what was going on in terms of reporting. 25% of every earthquake that happened around the world happened at exactly 10-kilometer depth. And then right after that, the USGS website came out with this, I would call it an excuse, right? It was right after that. They came by saying, oh, if you see anything at 10 kilometers, that's just the standard that we're going to give, because if we can't exactly measure it, then we're going to tell you 10 kilometers. But there were 9.9, there were 10.1s, but 25% of the earthquakes happened at exactly 10 kilometers.